Reality. Reality receipts.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Reality Receipts podcast starring me, Storytime with Ricky.
And me, Reality Ashley. We're just popping in here quick to give you guys a little debrief on some of the Love Island USA Season 7 cast interviews this week, because they're still coming. Like, we got a ton last week, and now we got more this week. It just never ends, obviously, with these seasons. We still have so much to hear from them. But Keke Palmer did Shelley and Alandrea's interview, which I don't know why they did it together. Do you think that was a request by Shelley and Alandrea? Like, they wanted to do it together? Or
Maybe. I know it's both of their first big interviews. They've done like super small press circuits, like 15 minutes, 10 minutes. But I think it's both of their like full on big interviews. So maybe it was a comfort thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because that's probably what I would want. Like, I don't want to do it by myself, but I do feel like we had enough to hear from both of them for them to do like their very own interviews. So, but it was nice to see them together, because it's obvious that they're pretty good friends. So, what did you think of the interview as a whole?
So overall, as a whole, like if I had to give it a rating, like I don't know.
Yeah.
If I had to give it a rating, honestly, okay, just being very transparent. I think that Keke Palmer is like a really good host. I think she's so funny. I really love that she's so outspoken and animated. I think that makes her guest like, it makes it super easy to talk to her. I think that Keke is clearly a fan of the show, and she watches the show, and she had a lot of her own thoughts and opinions on the show that she just wanted to let the girls know about, and she was really excited to tell them. So I think there were a lot of moments where she spoke over them, or she didn't let them finish a question, or she kind of answered the question for them. And I do think that because this interview was recorded last week, it's outdated. Which is no fault of Keke's. So for those of you who don't know, Olandria still had her braids in the interview, implicating that she does not have that hairstyle anymore. So this is a good indicator that this was filmed last week before the Call Her Daddy interview came out, before Shelley and Alandrea unfollowed Huda, before a lot of these other cast interviews were out. So I think as a whole, was it a nice dynamic between the three women? Yes, I liked it. I enjoyed watching it. I laughed. I kikied. Was any tea spilled or was any new information shared? No.
Yeah, I know that's the hard thing about, they obviously filmed it last week, and the other thing is that they haven't watched the show yet. So
I've not watched the show.
Like you said, no fault of the girls or of Keke's. It's the way that the production has decided to conduct these interviews. And I kind of wonder if that's just to save something for the reunion, because now, like, obviously you can't really have them watch the whole show before they do these interviews, because it would take them like a month, right? So I guess this is just sort of like a reflection on their experience and how they viewed it. Now they're going to go and watch, and obviously they're going to have some different opinions after they see all the stuff they didn't see going down. So it is kind of frustrating, because we've watched the show. So we're like, we want you to talk about what we saw, not what you felt. Like, we want to know your thoughts on what was actually going down. But I guess we just have to have patience for that, because I'm hoping they're all going to watch it before the reunion. I would assume that they have to. So then we'll finally get some of these answers. But yeah, I loved their dynamic. And I think Keke was obviously great for some of the topics that they touched on. Like, she was really good at asking those kind of questions. But yeah, in terms of like some of the tea we wanted, she would like interrupt a little bit or like change the subject, and we're like, no, we want to hear this part. So she was just so excited.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point that like, I don't think that any cast should give any more interviews until they watch the show. Like, because we'll get into it later, but Harry Jowsey interviewed Jeremiah as well, and he stated that he still has not watched the show. He said he doesn't even think he's going to watch the show. So like you said, I think like maybe that's an element that will make the reunion special, because at this point it's like everybody's talking like, what is there going to be left at the reunion? But I think that once they watch it back, they will see, okay, this is why America had this reaction, or this is why, people are perceiving it this way. But yeah, just a lot of moments that I was like, oh, don't like we
Yeah.
want the answer. Like I think she asked about the heart rate challenge where she was like, oh, like, what happened that we didn't see? Like that was the question, right? But they can't answer that because they don't know what we saw. So
Yeah.
is there something is there something that happened? And all Shelley really said was like, I don't understand why what you guys saw that people felt like I didn't have a right to be upset. And then Kiki goes into like telling her why she did have a reason to be upset and why it was valid and how she was upset that people were upset that Chelley that they were mad that Chelley was upset. And I'm like, yes, everything you're saying, Kiki, but like let her answer, like let her maybe answer of something we didn't see, or maybe she doesn't know what we saw, but let her answer what happened that upset her so much. We didn't even get the answer to that. So
yeah, just maybe like we needed a bit more of a specific question and then let her answer. Like, what did you see? Or like, how did you, like, why was everybody reacting? Like, it was obviously something that you guys saw. So tell us what you saw. But I know, like, in these interviews, a lot of times they're not allowed to talk about anything that wasn't shown. And I know in Jeremiah's interview, which we'll get to, there was a couple of times where he was like, oh, I can't say that because it wasn't shown. But I'm like, how do they know what was shown?
If you
Yeah.
haven't watched it, exactly. And I think to Olandria's point, Olandria said, I do think that Huda took it too far. She admitted that she took it too far. She apologized to Olandria. She instantly regretted her actions. And so why people are saying that Shelley didn't have a reason to be mad when Huda herself admitted that Shelley had a reason to be mad, I will never understand. And maybe we need to go back and watch the scene, because from what we've seen, it was all like, it was almost like Huda was sorry that Shelley was mad at her, but not sorry for the action. So maybe there were scenes off camera where Huda did acknowledge the action and was very sorry for the action, which I think is important to show, considering the backlash that Shelley received from this whole debacle, which again, she did have a reason to be mad. Her point was valid. She didn't kiss Jeremiah. She didn't touch Jeremiah. You wanted that level of respect when it came to you and your partner. It's like winning a challenge or doing good on a challenge doesn't shouldn't supersede your friend's emotion, which I think was her whole point, which made sense to me. Like it made perfect sense to me. Because even if I would have got mad at you, kissing Ace is valid because you didn't want anyone kissing Jeremiah, but that's not what she was upset about. She was upset about something that completely went overboard. But again, Kiki was so, I think, excited to talk to the both of them that she kind of was jumping in and answering the question. So I was like, God damn it. She did the same thing when she asked about Huda and Jeremiah's relationship as a whole. I was like,
and I think that is something that Alex Cooper was really good at, right? Was just letting Huda go off on a tangent, right? Because you will get information then, right? Like they will keep talking because it's awkward, the silence, and they will probably say stuff they're not supposed to say, and in some cases maybe just lie. But I think if she would have given them a little bit more space to just kind of because you do want to fill that awkward silence, right? So you keep talking, and we might have heard things that maybe we weren't supposed to hear, or they might have given information not realizing we didn't see that happen. So yeah, I think probably there was probably a producer, PR person in the room where they're like, no, we can't ask about that, or keeping it under control. But obviously on the Call Her Daddy, that didn't stop people. So I think if you just let them.
That had a very quick turnaround too. So less time to edit, less time to kind of really contrive what you want to say. I will say that Kiki's did seem a little edited, some parts were maybe taken out. I do think we've seen one part where Olandria kind of went on a tangent about the whole Clark of it all, which what did you think about that scene when Kiki asked her how do you feel about Clark? Where do things stand with you and Clark? And coming out of the villa and seeing that Clark was giving you faces or talking behind your back or making mumbling, and she said she was like, it was a little shady, but no tea, no shade. And Olandria kind of said, she's just finding that out now. Do you remember?
No, I didn't
mumbling about Olandria, because I don't.
No, I felt like obviously they're both going for the same guy. There was going to be a little bit of tension there, like when Olandria first came back, right? Like I remember that part. Remember in the morning when they woke up and Olandria was there, and I remember Clark kind of like laughing or making faces, but they had never even had a conversation at that point. Like they didn't know each other, so of course there was going to be a little bit of like disappointment on Clark's end because like she's trying to get to know Taylor. Olandria's back, like that just seemed valid and not shady at all to me. Like they said in another part of the interview, it's not girl island. Like they don't even know each other. They're not friends. So they are just two girls liking the same guy at that point. And then I felt as they got to know each other, they became friends or friendly, and there was no shadiness after that. So I didn't think it was like a big deal. I think there was points too where Olandria was kind of talking about Clark, and like, yeah, they were each other's competition really and not friends at first. So none of it seemed like.
It's not a competition, Ashley.
Yeah. Yes,
There is no
did.
competition. That's when Alandria got a little catty. But I did feel like the way that Kiki kind of worded the question was that Clark was being shady to her. And I know production sometimes takes facial expressions that are from a completely different moment and add it into a moment. So I never take the facial expressions serious because I know that could be from a different part of the show. But I didn't think that Clark was shady towards Alandria at all. I'm like, what did I miss?
No, I think, and if there was a little bit of like faces or whatever at the start, like I think that was valid because they both like Taylor. And then I think once Taylor chose Clark, they seemed to get along fine. They were friendly. There was no cattiness after that. Like that's where it would look bad on Clark's part if she was being shady to Olandria or if Olandria was coming for Clark still after Taylor made his choice. But I think Olandria was clear that she blamed Taylor for that. Like she never came for Clark. There were no fights. There was no tension. So I wonder what she's being told because she did seem a little catty, like you said in this interview.
Yeah.
And I wonder if she's just being told by people like, yeah, Clark was saying stuff about you. She was so shady. And now Olandria's obviously feeling a little duped. Like she was nice. We were friends in the villa. So, but I didn't really see that too
and
much.
if she
like
watched
I said,
the show back, right, you would know that, right? Like,
yeah,
if you watched it back, you would know that. So, but seeing a clip, if somebody made a clip like, oh, Clark's being shady to Olandria and like kind of pinpointing little faces that she makes, I could see if Olandria's seen that edit and thinks that that's what happened. But I think watching the show back, Clark was not like, yes, the smiling moments, or yes, maybe she had an awkward laugh here and there, but again, we don't know what she was laughing to. So I did think so. Okay, let's talk about the moment where Alandria was being catty because I have it written down here, and I want to know who you think she was talking about because we were on the
the body thing, right? Like
we
the
were
fake
on
body.
the topic of Clark, right? Like we were on the topic of Clark, and so Kiki says there's moments where she was mumbling things, and then Olandria says, I just found out about that. And then Kiki says there were some shady moments, right? And and Olandria goes on to say that there was no shade on her side and that, no bad blood, and that she respected her for pulling her for a chat, right? Yeah. And then so the part that I was is Kiki kind of says, it got competitive. And Olandria says, well, there's no competition. So there's that, right? That was catty. And then she goes, I truly feel like my presence intimidates a lot of people, men and women, that she goes through that so much. You can walk into a room and it's, oh, I don't like her, even though they haven't given her a reason, she hasn't given them a reason not to like her, right? So she's like, my presence really makes people uncomfortable, right? Which, I'm sure a lot of beautiful women can relate to that, right? So Kiki interrupts her and says, it's your measurements. And Olandria says, and it's natural. No shade to nobody. I see people trying to do this whole comparison. She looks better. She looks better. If you want to compare me to the natural thing of whoever that is. Yeah.
I mean, it has to be about Clark, right? Because no one would have been comparing her with anyone else, I don't think. Maybe.
So I think what confused me about that, right, is Clark is natural. Clark has a very petite frame, a very petite body. So, but they were on the topic of Clark, and then she finished off that statement saying they were genuinely nice to each other again about Clark.
Yeah.
and she went into not being upset that he chose Clark, that she was upset with how Taylor went about it, which has been the whole focal point of everyone's problem with Taylor, was that he wasn't honest in how he went about it. So
Yeah.
people are trying to say online that she was talking about Huda for some reason. I don't know why all her fans think she was talking about Huda. Like
No,
everything's about
I
Huda.
don't. Yeah, there was never a point on the show where they were going for the same man ever, and so I don't know why anyone would have been like, because what Olandria says is she looks better than her or whatever, and I don't think that would be happening unless you were competing for the same guy, right? So like it has to be Clark or Sierra, maybe. I can't think of anyone else that
Yeah,
was compared to
yeah,
her.
because and I think the reason why people are saying that is because she says compare me to the natural thing of whoever that is, and obviously the
Yeah,
picture is circulating online of a certain someone's features before they had a lot of work done facially,
right.
right? And they look
Uh-huh.
like two completely different people. Beautiful work.
I guess,
Need the doctor's information. Not gonna lie, like whoever did the injection
yeah.
or whatever, like looks amazing. But I know people are trying to say that, which I agree with. It has to either be Sierra or Clark.
It could be Huda now because all of Huda's fans are coming for Shelley and Alandrea, calling them mean girls, and I wouldn't put it past them to turn that into a physical beauty competition where they're
Which
being
they
like, "Well,
have.
she's pretty." Yeah, so it could be about Huda, but
Yeah, I don't think it was, but you're right. The fans did turn it into a, oh, they're just jealous type of
yeah,
thing. And it's like, sorry, babe, like Olandria and Shelley are beautiful. They don't have a reason
yes,
to be jealous. So
no,
shut it. Okay. But
yeah,
yeah, that she got a little catty, but again, it sucks because then Clark will feel a way about her cattiness. And, Alandria hasn't even watched the show to show that Clark wasn't being catty. So I do think
no,
that sometimes in these interviews, like if you're going to ask about a certain scene, like if we're gonna ask about the heart rate challenge, at least show them the heart rate challenge. Like, you know
yeah,
what I mean? At least show them what we saw, or at least before the interview, make sure they've watched this specific scene, watched,
mm,
the stand on business challenge. Like at the very least, I think it
yeah.
would be helpful. Like, geez.
Well, I wonder if any of this is coming from just stuff that's happened or that they've heard since they left the villa, right? Like just all talking amongst each other, and maybe they're hearing someone talk bad about them or that. But I mean, we did see them all go to Disneyland together, like Taylor and Clark and Nick and Alandria were there. So they must be getting along a bit, although those are planned, obviously, by production. They probably don't have a choice, but I don't know why all of a sudden she feels so against Clark because they seemed fine when they left the villa. So hopefully it's not just people getting in her head and telling her all of the stuff went down on the show because we didn't see it. So I don't know
Yeah.
who's telling her this because,
Yeah. I
but
agree.
I found it interesting how much Shelley and Alandria talked about Taylor's behavior and how he really was like making an effort with Olandria, and it all makes sense now. It's like that's why she thought he liked her because he did, and he showed that apparently all the time. And why would they not show that to us? I don't get it.
What, girl, when she said that he was doing stuff for her all the time, that he was affectionate, that there were, that he was like
Yeah.
PDA with her, giving her compliments. I think that's one of the main critiques throughout the season. Like he hasn't complimented her once. He hasn't kissed her. He
Hmm.
ain't even touched her toe. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, like to hear her say that he actually was doing all of these things, and to hear Shelley
Yeah.
say he was coming to me for advice, like it really seemed like he
Hmm.
was into her. It makes a lot of sense, right? Like it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. And that
Like,
she never heard that he was not physically attracted to her.
yeah. And it's like, I don't know why they didn't show that to us because obviously this is happening live. So it's not even like they had some plan of like eventually he's going to be with Clark or like they didn't see the season play out as they're editing it. So why they chose not to show us that and make Olandria look kind of, I don't want to say a mean word, but we were kind of like, what's happening here? Why is she feeling like he's into her when he's not giving her any signs? We really thought she was a little delulu like all of us are sometimes. So, but no, she wasn't at all. He was fully, actively pursuing her and they cut that. So I don't know if it was to make it more it's interesting because it would have made it more dramatic then when he did leave her for Taylor. Like, I mean, for Clark, like it would have made it even crazier. So maybe they were trying to protect that. But like I said, they can see the future, so I don't get it at all.
Maybe, do you think maybe it's because they knew they were sending in Jalen as a bombshell like fairly early on in the season, and they knew he was like this country guy that,
Mhm.
maybe Olandria would go for?
Yeah, maybe once
Now
they
that, but it
saw.
also doesn't make sense because it would make sense why Olandria didn't leave Taylor for Jalen is because she
Yeah.
had a strong connection and he's doing all the right things, saying all the right things, pursuing her, making her feel loved. Like, I
I don't get it.
I don't know.
Maybe once they got Taylor and Olandria together on screen, that was originally like what they liked them together, and then they didn't see that chemistry like we didn't really, even though we weren't seeing it all. And maybe they were just like, we don't like this for like an on-screen couple. We want her with Jalen, we want him with Clark or whoever. And so they actively made us not fall in love with them as a couple so that they could be with other people. But why? I don't
It
understand. Like,
doesn't make sense. But what also doesn't make sense to me is that obviously the jump ship from Clark was validation for all of us viewers that what we were seeing was accurate, right? Like that he didn't
mhm,
actually like her. That's why
yeah.
the minute he saw somebody he did like, he jumped ship. So
Mhm.
if he's making all this effort and doing all of these things, like you said, it would make it more dramatic that he jumped to Clark. So I don't think that what we were seeing was completely invalid, or else he wouldn't have been able to jump ship to Clark so quickly. Like,
Yeah.
but it was interesting hearing that component. Like, I was like, oh, dang. Like, okay. So he was like into it.
Mhm. Yeah, I wonder how much like conversations are going on behind the scenes with producers, and that plays into what they show. Like maybe he was telling the producers, like, I'm just not feeling it with Olandria, like I'm trying, and he wanted to look like a good guy on screen, so he's doing all the stuff they listed. But producers know if they show that him being fake, like trying, even though behind the scenes he's like, I'm not really feeling her, I want to go for someone else if someone else comes in, they like tried to save him in that way by not showing how much he was leading her on, because then we would really hate him. And I think they like him, right? They wanted him to be one of the stars, so they didn't want to throw him under the bus completely, but again, risky because they didn't know that he was gonna like Clark the way he does, so you can't really plan for him to end up falling for someone else. So yeah,
Yeah,
just
it's
really
difficult
weird.
because all we've seen was him have that one chat with Ace where he's like, I don't know, there's something missing, like the physical is
Hmm.
missing. But it's like maybe there were more of those conversations happening and we didn't see it. But
Yeah.
it's wild. And I feel like they focused a lot on Taylor in this interview
Hmm.
and not a lot on Nick. Like she barely asked her any questions about Nick and the Nick Olandria of it all.
Yeah, she did kind of, I think, did she at one point like question, is it real or something? Or maybe she was just asking like how, like, did you see like what we were seeing? And yeah, and Alandrea spoke about how she didn't really get it till her mom came to visit and told her like how everybody was rooting for them, and she did get really giddy when she did talk about him at the end, and
Yeah.
the kisses and stuff. So
Dead. Every time she said his name, she had like this big smile across her face,
yeah.
super getty, like she's into Nick. And then I think an important part to point out in the interview is when she said that in Alabama, a lot of men that look like Nick, hence white men, are traditional, meaning
Yeah.
they date within their race. And so she just thought she wasn't Nick's type. But when he made it
Hmm.
clear that she was, she said she kind of was like in her head about like, is there something there with Nick? Is there not? Am I reading into him picking me for these challenges too much? And she kind of
Hmm.
talked herself out of it. And then once he made it clear that there was an interest and he was attracted to her, that she was like, okay, so my feelings about these challenges were valid. Like he is picking me
Hmm.
because there's an interest, you know?
Yeah, it just makes me nervous that they're not together right now and she's back home because he's been out clubbing in LA, but he seems like a good guy. I think we can
With
trust him.
Valdasha.
Yes, I mean, damn, like she really, I mean, thinking also of like what their DMs must look like after being on a show. Like even the random reject guys seem to be getting a lot of love from the ladies. And I mean, I get it. You're on the biggest show. Of course you're gonna get it. So we did see a video, obviously not verified, no receipts, so take it with a grain of salt, but just acknowledging we have seen it, of someone accusing Brian of cheating on Amaya. They don't have any proof. They deleted the video. They went private. Not a great sign that it's true, but they did have photos though of meeting them, right?
Did they know?
Oh, I didn't see it in the video, but I've seen comments saying she has photos. She went private, so I didn't see the photos, but
Oh, I know
uh,
in the video she did say we took a photo with them.
oh, okay.
But I didn't see the photos myself.
No,
Maybe
me
she
either.
posted them on her page. Maybe she posted them on her Instagram. But yeah, like if it's true, why delete the video? Basically,
Yeah.
if you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's a girl who basically said her and her friend were out clubbing in LA. They ran into some cast from Love Island. They get into the club and it's 2 days after the finale aired, and they seen Brian hugged up with a girl all night and overheard him asking Chris if there's an extra room or an available room, and
Yeah.
overheard Chris telling Brian that he wouldn't move like that and that it's too soon. But this is all allegedly. She didn't post any photos or anything, and then deleted the video and went private. So
Yeah, so no receipts on that. So take it with a grain of salt. The person in the video wasn't necessarily saying he cheated. She was like, either they're not together for real or he cheated. So, I mean, you wouldn't delete it unless you were not being truthful. So we're going to say for now it's not true. But if any further developments come out, I'm sure we'll hear about it. These people should know better than to go to a club and pick up girls, knowing like anyone is looking for an excuse to make a video about you right now. So I
yeah.
don't think they would be that stupid, but
And I do
you
think
never know.
that as big as the show is, this isn't the only girl that would have seen Brian out with a girl, leaving with a girl, all over a girl the whole night. There would be a video of it somewhere, because
Yeah.
clubs do not take your phone. You can have your phone. And I think they would have there would have been a picture or video of Brian with a girl. So grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
That's there would be in a club full of people. There's not
Mhm.
many people in that club that are not going to recognize Chris's tall ass
Yeah.
and Brian along with him with a girl that's not Amaya. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Chris can't like sneak around anywhere. So
nowhere.
he,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, stay tuned, but I'm sure I don't even know if they'll acknowledge it. Maybe he'll debunk it, but we'll see. So
Yeah.
but back to the Keke Palmer interview. So
Yeah.
obviously, they touched on something really important, which was the way that Olandria and Shelley feel like they have to stay composed, and they couldn't really have these crash outs the way Huda does because they can't really get away with that. So, what's your thoughts on that? Because
Um,
I
I
thought that
think
was
it's a
important.
really important conversation that needs to be had. And like, I think like Kiki and another Black woman host would only, that's the only person that can understand, or that
Yeah.
understands what you mean by that. I think if you don't have that experience, it's hard to understand when somebody says that they had to tone down who they were, or they have to tone down what they say or how they speak or how they come at somebody, because it will be taken a certain way. And I think it's easy if you don't have that experience to say like, oh, like not everything's about race. Like you can act how you want. Like, no, you can't. Because as a Black woman, as a woman of color, and even me, like I'm a lighter skinned Black woman, so I don't even experience it as much as a darker skinned Black woman. But you do have to watch what you say. You do have to be very cautious of every single move you make, because you don't get as much grace as
Mhm.
somebody who's not your skin color. So it's like I can imagine that it's incredibly hard. Olandria couldn't even say you're doing too much to Huda without Huda crying and shedding tears, and then all of a sudden Olandria is the bad guy. What Olandria said was completely valid. What Olandria said was completely on par. Huda was doing too much. She did not have to. Oh, oh, y'all need some real men. Oh, y'all need some real men. Like, I don't need your sympathy. I don't need you to do all that. We're early days. You don't have to comment on what my man is doing. These aren't even my men. We've known them for a few, like not even the
Yeah.
2 days,
Yeah.
and Huda instantly victimized herself, which we've seen her do the entire season. And Olandria had to then go apologize to the girl, which it didn't warrant an apology. But Black women, again, are so easily to be labeled aggressive, or if you say something in a stern way, you're mean, or you're aggressive, or you're this or you're that. And it's just,
Hmm.
you do have to dim your light, or you do have to be extra cautious of what you say. And I think that time and time again, we see on these reality shows that if a black woman did what a white person or another person did, it would not be received the same way. And it just is what it is. If Olandria and Chelley were acting like Huda acted in that villa, they would there would be riots. People would be like, "Oh my God, we're so scared of them. We're so this, we're so that," right? And I think
Hmm.
we saw it in a recent episode of Real Housewives of Miami, where a white lady threw a glass of water at Gertie during an argument, and then they're telling Gertie that she's doing too much and she's too aggressive. Can you imagine if she threw that glass of water? Like,
No.
there would have been an uproar. So I think we see it time and time again play out
Yeah.
in these reality shows. So you can say that it's not a thing, or you can say, oh, everything's about race, but it's a reality. And just because it's not your reality doesn't mean it's not someone else's reality. Because I've been in that situation so many times where I know somebody's getting aggressive with me, or somebody's getting antsy with me, and I know that if I react in the same way that they react, it's going to be completely blown out of proportion. So I do
Yeah.
have to be the bigger person time and time again. And especially them, they have like so many people watching, they have the weight of representation on their back that they
Hmm.
constantly have to be poised. They constantly have to carry themselves with so much grace and so much class, because the world is not going to be as forgiving to them as they are to other people. And I think that, I think it sucks, but and I think that
Hmm.
they did a really good job at how they carried themselves, and they still got labeled as bullies. They still,
Yeah.
doesn't matter what they did, doesn't matter how they carried themselves, they still got labeled as bully for one scene, versus
Yeah.
we seen this other woman have 5, 10 bad scenes versus 1 or 2 bad scenes, and she came out a hero. And here
I
they
feel
were
like,
defending themselves. So
mhm.
it sucks.
Yeah, I feel like that played in a lot to that scene we saw where Huda and Shelley wanted to have that conversation about why Shelley was upset. And when they went to go sit down, Huda was already crying. And you could see Shelley just be like, no, I'm not doing this right now because she's already crying. I'm the one that's upset here. I'm hurt. I want to explain what you did wrong to me, but she's crying. So I'm going to get labeled as angry or aggressive or mean because I'm just trying to explain what is wrong and how I feel. So she said, I'll do it tomorrow. And I thought that was so valid. And she got called, Huda victimized herself in that moment, being like, she won't even talk to me. And it's like, no, because you're crying, but you're not the victim here. So Shelley was so wise to be like, I'm not talking to her right now because, she knew how that would get spun. And it still was, like you said, they still got called mean girl. She didn't even, like any other person in that villa, if it was reversed, Huda would have been screaming, calling people bitches. And Shelley didn't even say a word and still got called a mean girl.
It's
So,
okay to not want to talk to somebody when you yourself still need to gather your thoughts, or you still need to
mhm,
process your emotions. Like, that's a
yeah.
healthy way to handle a situation. So even then, yeah, you go run around, tell the villa that she didn't want to talk to you. That's not what she said. She said, I'll talk to you later. And like you said, you're already coming to me with tears. So I'm already at a disadvantage, because if I don't just welcome your apology with open arms and say it's okay because you're crying, I'm expected to sympathize with you when I'm the one that's upset. And it's just
Mhm,
unfair. Even in her chat with Alandria, you went into crying. I would never do that to anyone. I would never put them on blast like that. We've seen you do it time and time again, season after season. But because Alandria wasn't crying, or because she didn't react with tears, and it doesn't matter because nobody cares about black woman's tears. But if Alandria, like, because she didn't react the way you wanted to, you know what I mean? It was like, oh, no, nobody even blinked an eye that Huda was calling out Iris and saying things that were in private and yelling out things that, like, that wasn't the time or the place for. But Olandria was like literally demonized for it. And
mhm.
it's really unfair. And I don't know if people like don't notice that they're like having an opposite reaction, or they don't know that it's like deeply rooted in like
Mhm.
anti-blackness, but it's just like, I don't think people are aware, right? Like, I think that it's just every day. So it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, well, she's crying, so we have to feel bad for her. Like, and
Yeah.
it's annoying. It's annoying.
Yeah. When they talked about the standing on business challenge, they mentioned it was like 6 to 7 hours. So like we didn't see so much. Obviously, they didn't really tell us what we didn't see, sadly. I hope that they talk about that at the reunion because they keep saying we didn't see so much, but not telling us what we didn't see. So,
Right.
but I thought it was a little strange that Olandria, I think she said, or maybe it was Shelley, I can't remember. One of them said at the end of it, everybody was fine, everybody was good, like nobody was upset. But we obviously saw her like sitting off to the side and crying and whatever. So I don't know if they just couldn't say that because we haven't seen exactly what went down, but we have heard from other interviews that everyone was calling Huda out on her lies, and it was a whole theme of that challenge was a lot of people had beef with Huda. So it is weird that the only parts they chose to show to us was Olandria and Shelley's little thing. So they obviously got called mean girls, but apparently it was the whole villa had issues with her and things
Yeah.
to say. So I
And
hope we get to hear about it.
they said, right? Shelley and Alandrea said that when everyone walked away from this Stand on Business challenge, like everybody felt like everyone was being real, the air was cleared, they didn't feel like anyone got ganged up on or bullied, or they felt like they cleared the air and some real shit went down. But then it's like you hear now, right, in interviews, Zach saying that he did feel like Huda got ganged up in that challenge. And you hear, I think even Nick did a live recently where he said that there were times where he felt like the house was ganging up on Huda. So it's a lot of conflicting stories,
Yeah.
and if I could understand if everyone's calling you out for some lies, that might make you feel ganged up on. But if you like holding someone accountable is not ganging up on them.
Yeah.
Holding someone accountable and calling them out for an action is not bullying them. And I think that her fans need to realize that. Like, the reason this girl is now walking around with a chip on her shoulder like she didn't do shit is because you guys have all made her feel like she didn't do anything wrong,
Yeah.
And so she's going to continue to behave this way. But I do like that the interview was not centered around her,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a good balance of everything that happened. Obviously, we had a little phone call from Ace. Shelley called him because, Kiki was asking questions, trying to get a little tea, and they still wouldn't answer any of
They
those.
didn't answer
But
anything. We got no tea from this episode. It was
yeah,
all about Taylor and Alandrea, Shelley and Ace, a little bit about Huda. Like, we didn't even really hear anything about Shelley and Chris. Like,
no,
we didn't hear nothing about their connection. I think a major ball drop was Kiki didn't even ask, like, what happened between the conversation between you and Huda where you got the interpretation that she was bringing Chris back for you? What did that conversation sound like? Because we heard Chris on the Vile Files say that conversation was, geared
yeah,
toward him coming back to the villa for Shelley. I feel like that was a big moment that we needed answered, is like, what happened in that conversation?
yeah.
Why were you on the side that Huda was doing it for you? And why was she on the side that she was doing it for both of you and made it clear that she wanted to explore him? Because that's what we've seen as viewers, right? That Huda did say, I want to explore him. So obviously there's another conversation that happened that we didn't see where it was like, this is solely for you, like kind of for me, but solely for you. Kiki didn't ask that question.
Well, it was like 50-minute interview for two of them, right? And where we saw Huda's 2 hours just to herself. So like
Yeah.
we didn't get any of their family background, their growing up, their high school experience, all these other things that gave Huda all these dimensions. And it's like, oh, okay, that's why she's like this or did this or whatever. But we barely got even into what happened on the show with Shelley and Alandrea, let alone like about themselves. So it is a little strange. I don't know if this is production call or that's what Shelley and Alandrea are comfortable with. Maybe they don't really want to do a big in-depth one yet because that's a lot. It's overwhelming. But yeah, we couldn't get into much. And maybe there are certain topics that were off limits. Like maybe the Chris Shelley Huda thing is something for the reunion. Maybe there was some things they can't talk about yet, but I think we could have at least heard a little bit, like a little teaser into it, but hopefully the reunion we will. So, but it was still a good interview. I loved
It was good. Yeah.
their dynamic together was great.
It was. But back to your point of calling Ace, they did call Ace for what question? It was like, who do you think got a better edit than they deserve?
Yes, that was it. And they didn't say anybody, right? And then Kiki was like, so Jeremiah, which she's just being funny, but
She's being
I
fun.
don't think out of all of them that it would be Jeremiah, but that's just the least controversial answer, I think.
And then she
So,
said, "Thank you for your PR answer, Ace." So
yes.
essentially, they didn't answer any of the questions. Like they said,
No.
nobody, nobody, nobody to like a lot of things. I think Shelley and Alandrea said that if they could couple up with anybody else in the last week, they both said Chris.
Mhm.
Best kisses. Shelley
They didn't
said
even want to answer that at first. Like, they didn't even want
they
to say
didn't
best
answer
kiss.
nothing, guys. They kept it very cute.
Mm,
They didn't bash anybody, which was very nice. Like they even I think at one point Shelley even made it seem like did say that her and Huda are cool. She was like,
yeah.
"We don't even hate each other as much as like people are making it seem like we all hate each other." I know
Yeah.
Kiki did make like a funny comment about Chris not carrying Huda over the water. Shelley just kind of laughed, which
I feel
again,
like they wouldn't even know about that unless they saw clips, right? But like they haven't watched, so they probably don't even know what.
I would imagine that's a big enough moment to where
Yeah.
you saw clips. But again, this is before Call Her Daddy came out. This is before Chris's interview on the Bio Files came out. This is before Shelley and Olandria unfollowed Huda. So really there was nothing to ask other than like Clark, Taylor,
Hmm.
barely asked about Nick. I really wish they would have asked more about Nick. And then the Shelley and Ace of it all. Like they didn't even ask about Ace's connection with Coco. Like they didn't
No.
ask, she didn't ask nothing. Like they didn't bring Coco's name up once. Um,
Oh, they did talk about Sierra a little bit.
oh,
They just
Sierra.
said Alandria said she doesn't know if she's heard from her, like she hasn't checked her DM. Shelley said she has spoken with her, and basically it was just like it was a nice little like sorry it all went down that way. And Sierra said, or Shelley said, we're all human, so she give her like a little bit of grace. It's hard. They lived together for like 6 weeks and she just disappears, right? So, but again, this was interview was a week ago. I don't know how much they even they obviously know what happened, but I don't know how much time they've had to actually like read everything, see her.
Yeah.
They obviously haven't seen her new post, so they
Yeah.
just it was very
Before all of
brief.
that.
Just like
Yeah.
yeah, they said hi basically. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I wonder if a lot was cut because yeah, it was like 40, 50 minutes maybe. And then I know at the end she's like, okay, like I know you gotta go. And you would think this is like their one big interview. You would think it was a couple hours. So maybe they
At
had to cut
least
a
an
lot.
hour each.
Yeah.
Like at least an hour each. Like if you really think about it, like, yeah, like you said, like they didn't even get 30 minutes each. And Kiki did a lot of the talking. Like she was
Hmm.
answering the questions for them. She was so excited to get her point of view out. It's like, girl, give us a recap, but like let
Yeah.
them answer. Like, and it
Hmm.
saved them from saying maybe some stuff that they wouldn't have said. Like, I think it is smart to just kind of sit back and let people talk because they end up spilling tea, like, you know what I mean? Even when
Wait.
they didn't mean to. We know that as like interviewing people, just let them talk, because
Hmm.
they'll end up talking themselves in a hole, which is what Huda did in her interview. She ended up exposing herself fully to where, people will show you who they are. They can only hide who they are for so long. And
Yeah.
I mean this in regard to Huda, not to Shelley and Alandria, because I think what you see is what you get with them. And the reason why they're
Hmm.
the same in interviews and they're the same on the show is because that's truly how they are. And I think we're seeing the same with Huda, right? Like who we see in the interviews and who we saw on TV, we're the same people. So
Yeah.
everyone blames the edit, but
Uh-huh. That's the thing I know Kiki asked a couple of times, sort of like I think in these questions where she was like, who is different on the camera and off the camera, and basically like they had to point out like it's not a cameraman, it's all these like hidden cameras, and like a lot of times we just forgot the cameras were even there. So that's why people love this show, because you do get very genuine sides of people because you're not like noticing the cameras. And obviously they have off camera time, and obviously since they left the show, but you really are like 24/7 being filmed, so you can't hide too much of who you are. That's why we see a lot of these moments from people that are so real, because it's like surveillance basically all day, all night. So we
yeah.
saw a lot of some people.
Yeah,
So,
even though sometimes we thought, oh, it looks like they're hyper aware that they're on camera or stuff like that. They both said
mhm,
that it wasn't like that at all in the villa.
mhm,
One thing that Shelley did say that I thought was interesting was she was like, "Oh, it was interesting to come out and see that Ace doesn't like hugging people or that he's like the mastermind because nobody in the house felt like that," which I feel like everybody who has done an interview since coming out of that villa has said that Ace did even in the villa come off as like the leader
Mhm.
and like took on a leader role in the house. I think everyone has said that. So, and I think Austin even said it on camera, like in the house. Jeremiah and
Yeah.
Austin did feel that way. So I feel like maybe she was trying to protect her man a little bit with that
Yeah.
statement, which, you know. And she said that they've spent every single day together since being out of the villa, which is cute. So
Yeah. And it might just be like that thing where when you do really like someone, you aren't noticing as much. Like, you're just seeing what you want to see in them, or she didn't take it that way. But yeah, everyone else has sort of saw what we saw in terms of like he was like the ringleader. But yeah, she said she didn't see it at least. So,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's her man. So,
That's her man. That was basically it.
yeah,
Not much else to say. And then
no,
we did
not,
get another interview this week with Jeremiah. Jeremiah was
yeah.
on Harry Jowsey's boyfriend material. Um,
Now, Harry Josey don't even watch this show, so I don't know why he's doing interviews. It's very frustrating,
it's
but
very
I know he's a big
obvious.
deal. Yes, it was very
It's
obvious he
very
didn't
obvious.
watch. It was literally like a social media meeting between them almost, where he was like, "Oh, you got to get on Snapchat. You'll make a lot of money on there, and like you got to do this." And like they could have just gone for a beer and done that because
For
like this
sure.
is we want questions about the show, Harry. Like, come on, get with it. So
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, there's not much to say here.
no,
Harry was asking the same questions over and over. He asked him, "What's the weirdest, craziest part?" twice. Then he like like Harry was like laughing a lot. Like I don't know if he was nervous or if he was fanning out over Jeremiah, but it seemed like he was a fan. Like he was just laughing, he was giggling, he was like kind of like trying to ask like douchey questions like, "Oh, is there someone from the old cast that you want to crack?" Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I don't think we got any new information out of this.
no,
It
no,
was
Jeremy.
rounded around Jeremiah's book club basically.
Yes, I was gonna say. I feel like, yeah, Jeremiah said he read the book, The Four Agreements, and so he doesn't talk about people like behind their back. And so it's like, okay, what? Why are you here then? That's what we're here to do. We need to hear the tea.
I
So
do love that he said that he doesn't want
yeah,
to say anything behind someone's back that he has not said to their face or that he
yeah,
doesn't plan on saying to their face. So maybe after the reunion, after he's said some stuff to people's face, he'll feel more
mhm,
comfortable talking on those topics.
mhm,
But Jeremiah kept it very cute, very respectful. The only thing that I think people are going to jump onto is that Harry asked, "Can you say I love you in there?" And Jeremiah was like, "I don't know. I never tried." And we do see in Huda's interview, she said that Jeremiah would be like, never mind. Never mind. But I do not believe Huda. I think in her interview, we caught her lying in so many nuances. Like, I don't ask people for their location anymore when we literally saw you ask Jeremiah for his. Like, there's just so many nuances where she lied that I'm
mhm.
like, I don't know.
And I was the only one who stood up for Amaya. I can't wait to hear about that at the reunion. I don't think that happened, but you never
It
know.
didn't have like we literally heard Alex Cooper ask Amaya the day before, like, did anyone stand up for you? And Amaya said no. And then we hear Huda say, "Oh yeah, I tried, and they told me be quiet." Huda, like, okay,
Yeah.
who are we gonna believe here? Like she talks
Yeah.
so fast that she doesn't even realize that she's spewing out lies. Her baby daddy has already come out and said she lied. But whatever.
Mhm.
I do think that people are gonna grasp onto that part because they're gonna feel like he's shading her in somewhere. He said he never tried to say I love you. She's saying that he did try to say I love you. We obviously heard her say she loves him multiple times. But yeah, it was basically about his book club, and he wants to start
Yeah.
a book club carnival. And he was so excited to talk about his book club and talk about his anime. Like, I think Jeremiah is
Mhm.
just a true nerd at heart, which is
Yeah,
like incredibly cute.
it
Uh,
is.
One part that did stick out to me was Harry asked him if he had a strategy or game plan going into the show.
Uh-huh.
And do you remember his answer?
No, what did he say?
He said,
I'm
I
looking
wanted,
up.
he said, well, of course I wanted to win. He said, but because he said he wanted to win because he's competitive and he didn't go
Uh-huh.
in to lose, but he didn't have, a strategy. Just find someone you like. And
Yeah.
so I have a hot take, right? So my
Uh-huh.
hot take is this. Jeremiah says that he only watched 3 episodes of last season. I think he said the last episode he watched is when Coy went home. So
Uh-huh.
he didn't know anything about the challenges. He didn't know anything about America being able to vote, split people up, having favorites. He went into the show pretty naive.
Yeah.
So my thing is if you've only seen 3 episodes of the show, you really only see Ariana say there's $100,000 prize and the couple that makes it to the final wins
Mm.
the money. That's his entire concept of the show, not the
Yeah.
challenges, not the votes, not the anything. And so him
Mhm.
saying he didn't go in to lose and he wanted to win, I think that really explains how he went about his time in the villa. Like
Yeah.
he thought, I find somebody I like and
Yeah.
I'm just going to go to the end. So
Hmm.
I think that inkling that a lot of us had of like he's like not like he's doing it wrong or he's not doing it right, but he doesn't fully understand the concept of Love Island.
Yeah.
I think that validated that in a lot of ways because he found Huda and his plan was to just ride it out to the
Yeah.
end.
I think he went in a little stressed that he might not be attracted to everybody. And when he found Huda, he was super attracted to her and he was so excited. He was like, done. Like, this is it. I'm good with her. How hard is this going to be? We're hanging out in Fiji for 6 weeks. I find her hot. Great. It's going to be a great time. And then he didn't realize what he got himself into because it's
Or
more than
realize that
attraction, right?
maybe didn't even realize that there were going to be more people coming in or that and that everyone's allowed to talk to everyone, like even when you're not in a couple. So I think that better understands why he went about it the way he went about it and why everyone
Mhm.
thought he was going about it wrong. And I think
Mhm.
maybe that's why the boys were trying to tell him like, no, you're not supposed to do this, like you're supposed to do it this way, because I don't think he knew much about Love Island. So I now
Yeah.
and then it kind of gives me a different perspective. It's like maybe the boys were trying to help him out and like give him a better concept of the show. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, y'all just want my girl. Like y'all just trying to y'all are telling me that y'all can all talk to her and that's the way it's supposed to go, but y'all just want my girl type thing.
Mhm.
And it makes a lot of sense because he really didn't understand the concept of like you should talk to other people and
Mhm.
other people should talk to you and you should allow people to talk to her and she could talk to other people. He now Huda fully understood the concept of the game because she was
Yeah.
obsessed with the show. So I don't know why she went about things the way she did and acted like she didn't know how bombshells work, but Jeremiah genuinely seemed not to know how the game worked and he thought like, yeah, because I found somebody I like we go into the end with it. And that
Mhm.
was really obvious to viewers, I think. Like,
I do think that they're gonna come for him in the reunion a bit. I think he's like an easy target. He doesn't have that fan base that Huda has to the point where like people are gonna get attacked for speaking out on him. It's gonna be easier for them to blame Jeremiah for whatever went down versus Huda. So I think we will hear probably behind the scenes he was saying, I just want to win, and they thought he wasn't genuine. I think they will come for him on those things because it'll be easier for them to get away with sending him home for that versus like Huda was crazy and you guys were toxic and volatile. Like they're not going to want to blame her because her fans are going to come after them. So I think they're going to just try to pin it on him. But I don't know if we'll ever
maybe.
see like the footage of actually what went down in those conversations. But maybe they do like to save that for reunions. So we'll see.
Maybe. And I do think like it would be hard to watch the show back and genuinely say that it was Jeremiah's fault. I think that
Yeah.
when once the Islanders go in and watch those conversations between Huda and Jeremiah, those are conversations that they didn't know was happening. Like
Mm-hmm.
Huda was just relaying her version back to them. So I do
Mm-hmm.
think just like Hannah said, when she watched it back, she had a very different view of Jeremiah because she didn't hear anything positive about him. I
Yeah.
think they will all feel the same way, honestly.
Yeah. You think they'll come for Huda at the reunion or are they going to be too scared?
I don't. I don't know. Like I think that
Mhm.
Ace is a real one. I don't think he's scared of anyone. So I do think that he's going to say his full opinion. I think he's definitely going to comment on the fact that even, and again, I think it's very irresponsible for Alex Cooper to bring up these likes that Ace had on Huda's pictures because those were not verified.
Yeah.
That was not valid. People make up stuff like that all the time, create stuff like that all the time. I'm telling you, the minute somebody sent me that video that Ace liked Huda's pictures, it hadn't even been out for a minute. The video hadn't
Mhm.
even been out for a minute. Somebody sent it to me and I went and checked those pictures and Ace did not have any likes on those pictures. And then people are like, oh, he took them back, or oh, it was the person running his account. Oh, it was or oh, they're real, they're not real, or he, remove them. And the thing is, once the show starts, it's hard to tell what's real or what's not. If these
Yeah.
people everything came out that Shelley and Ace followed each other before the show was even filmed.
Mhm. Yeah.
Nothing came out that as soon as the cast list dropped, right? People were like, oh,
Mhm.
these two contestants follow each other. Nothing came out that Huda and Ace followed each other or that
No.
Ace was liking Huda's pictures when the cast list dropped. And all of a
No.
sudden, now that there's this storyline or alluding to the fact that Ace wanted Huda the whole time, now there's all these likes and now there's all these like, oh, Ace followed her. It just
No.
doesn't make sense. Like it would have
No.
been there before. So I thought it was really irresponsible of Alex Cooper to even bring that up.
Yeah.
And Huda kind of fed into it like as if it was
Of
true.
course.
Oh, I knew he wanted me type thing.
Yeah.
And we don't even know if that was true or not. I do think he's going to speak on that and he's going to be like that shit was fake because I think it's
Yeah.
fake, you know.
I I hope that they don't do that in the future. It's just not worth the headache of having people who have known each other, who follow each other, who have met at a club. Like I said, if that hadn't have happened, if Ace and Shelley never followed each other, never met, I do think they would have been the most loved couple. They would have won. It would have been such a different story. They could not beat these allegations that they were in a relationship before and that they planned this all. That was really the only negatives about them the whole time is that there were some kind of masterminds of faking this whole thing. So I just hope, like Olandria said in her interview, they asked her the last 2 years to be on, and then she finally said yes. And I'm like, is the pool really this small of contestants? You
They
would
said
think
they had
like there's,
95,000 applicants.
yeah, like why are we,
95,000 applicants and you couldn't find nobody that didn't follow each other?
yeah. Like it just makes no sense. It's not worth it unless they're liking it does give something for people to talk about and dig up and make videos on it. It's a topic, right? Like it is a controversial thing. So it's hard to believe it's not done on purpose because there is no reason that they couldn't find other people. So it makes you think that they like these little controversies because it does get it buzzing. So
Like you
I
said,
don't
it
know.
did ruin though. It did ruin Shelley and Ace's chances. Now
Yeah.
Ace was again Ace. In my opinion, we all know my opinion of Ace. I really did like him up until the Jeremiah vote. The Jeremiah vote did make me feel like he was being a bit of a hater, and I think
Mhm.
Jeremiah even said in the Harry interview, watching it back, that it was weird to see Nick, the three of them, Nick, Taylor, and Ace, sitting around talking about him, staring at him, watching what he's doing. It was strange. It was awkward. It
Mhm.
was odd. And I think in this interview, something good that we did get was that Taylor came forward saying that Jeremiah was repeating a cycle, doing it all over, and Andrina came forward and said no, he wasn't, and she stuck up for him. He said he was going to comment on it, but then he saw that she stuck up for him, so he did give her a shout out. Then there's Harry doesn't watch the show, so he couldn't even ask blatantly, like, because he was asking, like, who are you dating? Who are you hooking up with? When he said he hung out with people from the show, but because Harry didn't watch the show, he didn't know who to ask about specifically.
Mhm.
It's like he said his closest friends were Hannah, Vanna, Bella, and Harry's like, well, which one are you hooking up with? Like, it was just like so obvious that he didn't know who to ask questions about. He had a list of questions that somebody clearly gave him to ask
Yeah.
about the show. He asked about being intimate with Huda too soon and what advice, or if is that something he experienced in real life, and Jeremiah said no. He said his last relationship, he got intimate after 6 months. Harry makes a joke and says, oh, I get intimate after a day. We know Harry.
We know.
We know. I think another thing that Jeremiah is saying that he only had one girlfriend. I feel like he had a. I'm not sure. I don't recall if in different interviews he said something else, but we do know in the game that he said "I love you" to like 10 people
Yeah.
or something like that. So like,
Uh-huh.
you've only had one girlfriend, so who the hell are you telling you love to?
Yeah, that's weird. But
Wasn't
I
it
feel
like
like
that?
I remember him. It was a lot, but then remember him explaining it in some way of like it's just something he says, which is funny because like Huda did say he was almost saying it, and for him to say he said it to so many people, it is more of like an Amaya situation where it's like you just use that as a term of endearment. You obviously just throw it out casually. So yeah, I don't know why he would have only had one girlfriend. That doesn't really add
Right.
up, but I guess he would
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah. I thought there was another. Um. Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that we got good in there.
I think that was about it.
Yeah. They talked about his famous DMs. Harry said he'd be lying on TV for votes. Yeah, we know, Harry. Uh,
Yeah, he did say
he
that.
did say, he did say, he, Jeremiah did says that he wished that they could do what they wanted and people wouldn't be obsessed with what he did, which obviously he's talking about Ace.
Hmm.
Um, didn't know that what he did would be everyone's main focus.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. He said he hopes that Nick Olandria works out and that they seem happy, that Austin is the most genuine. So he does really have a close friendship with Austin. Oh, he says that Kendall, Cordell, and Kenny all follow him from last season. So that's
Oh,
nice.
that's cute.
All the
Yeah.
black men sticking together, although Kendall barely counts. Anyway, um, book club, carnival, Discord, anime. Like he got real
Yeah,
deep over anime. Jeremiah's a dork, you guys. Like he's
he
literally
is.
a dork. He
He
did
had 44 followers when he started, and now he has like a
over,
few
I think
million,
almost
right?
2 million
Yeah,
on
2 million,
TikTok.
I think. Yeah.
Um, Harry asked him if he would do another reality show. He said Love Island is the pinnacle. Anything else would be a downgrade. No
Yeah,
offense.
he said the challenge, and Harry was like, "You don't want to do that, like you, pretty
You don't
much."
want
And
to
it's
do
like,
that. Yeah. And
yeah,
then basically, Harry said, like, Dancing with the Stars and The Amazing Race are like his favorite shows that he's done. And basically, in so many words, implied that he only does romance shows because they pay him a lot of money. He didn't say it, like, he started to say it and then didn't say it.
hmm,
Um, and his dream is that he wants to host a lit book club event because books changed his life. He used to
yeah.
be very angry before he started reading books. His baseline is now joy, and if he had to recommend two books, it's Ego is the Enemy and When Things Fall Apart.
Have you ever read the Four Agreements?
I have a copy of it. I remember I have an audio.
My
I have an audiobook version and I have a real version.
uh,
And I've been read either.
my husband is obsessed with that book, and he tells me like once a week to read it. Whenever I'm like complaining about something or saying something or doing something, he's just like, read the Four Agreements. Like I just can't. I like
I'm
more
gonna read it.
entertainment
I'm
type
gonna read
things.
it
So
and join Jeremiah's book
yeah,
club.
we should. We could all read
Yeah,
the Four Agreements together. So
yeah, but Jeremiah's interview honestly was a snooze fest. He did
yeah.
ask rapid Villa's fire secrets, and again, they were so whack. It was like Taylor was giving out the haircuts. They do wash the sheets every night. They get
Hmm.
2 to 5 hours of sleep, eight to
Yeah.
10 hours of sleep every now and then. Um, up to 2 pours of wine a night. And that's
Hmm.
it. They get minimum once a week therapy, but can go whenever they want. They don't get in the pools because they have to take off their mics. And that Megan the Stallion's aura was neck breaking. He doesn't know what she smells like, but he was hoping she would be a bombshell, but she's too good for them and too tall for the beds. Like it was
Yeah.
literally a news says he didn't ask him anything about the show.
No, it was just like I said, like a business meeting between friends. But
Yeah,
still,
we were talking
I
so much. Okay, do you know what the hell they were talking about when they were talking about phase one and AMP and Discord and all of that? Like it was like a different world to me. I think these are streamers and YouTubers.
hmm
I've heard of phase one because my little nephew Bryce used to be obsessed with them. I think they're like a YouTube crew, and I want to say AMP or ANP. I don't remember. I think maybe they're another YouTube crew. You guys can let us know in the comments, but I think they're like streamer crews like Kai
Hmm.
Cenat. Like I know Kai Cenat is a huge streamer. I see his face all the time. I see
Hmm.
videos of him all the time, but I don't know exactly what he does. I just know he's a huge streamer and has like really big guests like on his streams. Like I've seen Chris Brown on it before, so I've seen clips. Anyway, that's a whole different world. I know nothing about it, but Harry seemed really interested in it. Jeremiah seemed really interested in it. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? But like you said, definitely gave beer, like a boys meeting at the bar over a beer, that they could have had this
Hmm.
conversation, like they giving each other business advice, life advice. It was there was no tea was spilled, guys. Harry was definitely the wrong guy for this.
Yeah, and I almost feel sometimes like the producers are choosing these people on purpose because they know that they won't be able to ask specific questions, that they're just kind of going with the flow and it'll be a fun, light interview that won't actually like put any pressure on. So it's still nice to hear like, yeah, Jeremiah's like he seems like a good guy. Like he's a nerd and he's
Yeah,
into all this stuff. He seems genuine. So it's
very,
nice to
very
see
cutesy.
these sides of them. But yeah, we're
Yeah,
still in the like we're still in the area of we want tea from the show. Like we'll do all this later. We got time to hear about your book club. We want to hear about the show you were just
yeah,
on. So
yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
reunion
we'll get it
hopefully.
at the reunion.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like they're saying they're gonna like they're telling them to be coy and whatever, keep it cutesy in these
Mhm.
interviews, and
Yeah.
hopefully there's like a no holds barred reunion. Even though I think Harry did ask about the reunion, and Jeremiah's like nothing has changed on my end, but I think at the reunion we're gonna get very different energies, hopefully.
Yes.
But
Once they watch it. So
but y'all, this is the last week we recapping these interviews. We've got to move on with our life. These people aren't giving us nothing. At least Huda
no.
gave us something because she was running her mouth and like saying so
Yeah.
much word vomit that she gave us something. The rest of them are giving us nothing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The
that's
reunion
it.
will be good then, hopefully. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're on to other things. Next week we got Perfect Match, and we know that the aftermath of that one is always crazy too. But at least they usually give tea in their after interviews, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm excited
Yeah.
for that one
hmm
next Friday. So
Next Friday, and
exciting.
then we have, you guys don't miss our Bravo Day. We have Real Housewives of OC, Real Housewives of Miami coming, and we'll be here as
Yeah,
always.
you know, we always pop up every day for you guys, so we'll be back.
Yes.
Okay, thanks
See you next
guys.
time. Bye, guys.
See ya.